On Inside Grand Prix, we now continue flat out. Coming up, the latest from the paddock. And now, the Hungaroring from the world champion's perspective.
It's a beautiful city. I enjoy staying there and enjoy the restaurants and the people as well. Just really loving, warm people. The race in Hungary is always a special one for me. It's a race that I've won quite a few times, so it's definitely circuits of which I'm most confident at.
Starting a lap, DRS as you come across the line. Nice long straight, really important late braking into turn 1. But you would hit the apex nice and in the middle and then really try and get the power again on DRS. And braking nice and deep into turn 2. This is important to hug the apex here and also really important the exit. And flat out through turn 3, use all the curve on the exit.
You come through turn 4, the fast left, and you're going into the right. This part is almost the trickiest, but then you also could say the last corner, which goes on forever, and it's very easy to kind of go in too deep and lose the exit. It's a circuit about braking, so heavy braking, getting the brake balance right. The last sector is always tough because the tyres are so hot.
So much grip on the way into 12, no curve on the way in, exit's important. Patience through 13. Kind of make it a bit of a V. And again, you have to be kind of cautious on the way into the last corner. Important is the exit. Get the car as straight as possible and straight onto DRS. And that's a lap.
You have to be really aggressive, and it's a bit more like a go-kart circuit, so you can really throw around the car. You really have to attack the braking zones, you have to be really aggressive, throwing the car into the corner and then trying to still get the exit. Looking forward to getting out there and seeing the fans. I've had some great races there. I'm really looking forward to going back this year.
And so to the latest standings. In the drivers' table, Hamilton continues to lead, with Valtteri Bottas pushing in between the two Ferrari drivers. In the team standings, Mercedes AMG march mercilessly on, with Ferrari and Williams following behind. The fastest lap at Silverstone went once again to Lewis Hamilton, meaning that he leads this table too. And with his Mercedes team, he also recorded the fastest pit stop, stationary for 2.48 seconds. Now, Formula One technologies that really blow up a gale. Formula One, as it used to be. Grease, wide tires, and lots of raw power. The engines today, somewhat tamed, thus all the more important. And now a science in themselves. Wings, spoilers, and aerodynamic chassis. Their job? To reduce air resistance and create downforce. To that end, the engineers constantly work away on new components or fine-tune fittings. Sauber driver Marcus Ericsson shows us what happens to promising ideas.
The ideas the engineers come up with wind up here in the rapid prototyping machines. They can produce anything in no time. Prototypes made of resin are not as expensive as carbon. The prototypes are integrated into the model, and here they are.
The new model component then goes off to the wind tunnel, a technical advantage for Sauber.
It's still the most modern one in Formula One, and it cost $55 million.
Here we are in the working section of the wind tunnel with our model. It is 60% scale. In the wind tunnel, we're able to do, if you like, a mini Grand Prix simulation in literally a few minutes. Inside the model, we have about 500 physical sensors. That's a good toy. And I think it's the best toy on the planet.
The tunnel can simulate wind speeds up to 300 kph, and it's all top secret. All components are optimized in the wind tunnel before they go into production.
Is there anything you cannot do?
We can't simulate really a true corner because
I did that on the track.
Marcus's teammate Philippe Nasser takes us to the facility's nerve center.
Now this is the most important area of Sauber Formula 1 team. As we can see, this is the wind tunnel control room.
Here they control all the tests and collect data on airflow and airflow resistance. Behind the monitors, engineers specialized in aerodynamics. Where the wind comes from, we find out next.
I think this is even better. We're gonna go inside the tube of the wind tunnel. So this is absolutely amazing. Look at the size of this turbine. It can produce 4,000 horsepower, it has 6-meter diameter, and it moves 1 million liter air per second.
Such power doesn't come cheap. A wind tunnel requires a well-staffed aerodynamics department, which can easily cost $10 to $15 million a year. To keep things fair, there are therefore restrictions on their use. Per week, a maximum of 25 hours in the wind tunnel and 2 test phases per day. The result? Faster lap times and streamlined elegance. Aesthetics in motorsport. And now, the Hungarian Grand Prix and its history. (1986). The Iron Curtain keeps Eastern Europe sealed off from the West. Most cars on the road have only 2-stroke engines. Then, a surprise. Legends like Ayrton Senna rock the Eastern Bloc with 1,000 horsepower. The Hungaroring was the first Eastern European circuit, and back then it was a huge sensation. The East German fans too had someone to cheer for. When I drove there in the very first race, the Iron Curtain was still in place, and I was the only West German, and around 100,000 East German fans cheered me on. That was really very good. A German driver and a German team, Eric Jakowski's team Zakspeed. It was definitely a great era, but it was certainly difficult too. We built the car engine and gearbox ourselves, like Ferrari, and we took a very different approach. Nevertheless, I think it was very successful, bold, and really not at all bad. Off the track, time for international understanding.
It was a lot of action, on and off track. A lot of people from behind the Iron Curtain had the opportunity to actually cross over and come and see the first Formula 1 race of their life. We had a lot of fans in the eastern countries sending out envelopes with postcards to sign, and so there we had a contact with them at last, and they had a contact with us at last for them. It was a big happening.
Besides big happenings, lots of small ones. One man recalls these particularly well. Peter Faluvegi, then head marshal, today clerk of the course at the Hungaroring. He used to have the honor of chauffeuring the legendary Ayrton Senna.
The driver is not allowed to drive on the track except the sections. And he asked me that we must go to the track and see what's happened at turn 10. And I go to an official car, I drive, he sits right for me, and when we go to the track, his eyes closed, and it seems that he tried to collect more informations, and he concentrate, and he tried to move the legs, to throttle and to brake, and so on and so on. For me, it was a very enthusiastic emotion.
Formula One led the way, and politics followed. Despite the Cold War, Bernie Ecclestone brought the big event 4 more times to the hot Hungarian asphalt before the Iron Curtain fell.
It should have happened before, God only knows why it hasn't. but it's really good. It's good for the fans, good for everybody.
Eccleston's pioneering work has been honoured with multiple accolades in Budapest. A road leading to the circuit has even been named after him. For most of the time, however, without a correct sign. Because it gets stolen every day, the spectators pinch it. No, we've got 4 or 5 specially for one weekend. We only put it up for the Grand Prix. Much cherished, a circuit with tradition.
But sometimes this circuit like a retro circuit because some part of the track are very old.
Indeed, they are. For saying the first Grand Prix was in 1986 is not entirely right. 50 years earlier, in 1936, Budapest was rocking for the first time to the sound of powerful engines. Auto Union, the all-powerful German team led by top driver Bernd Rosemeyer, only narrowly beaten by Italian Tazio Nuvolari. The Grand Prix in Hungary 79 years later. Formula One, now unimaginable without it. Short and snappy, our news. He's lost his final battle. Formula One driver Jules Bianchi has died in Nice from his serious head injuries. Last season at Suzuka, the Marussia driver had crashed into a recovery vehicle. In 2007, champion in the French Formula Renault. In 2009, winner of the Formula 3 Euro Series, and since then also in Ferrari's driver development program. The world of Formula One is mourning a great talent and a man with a zest for life. Jules Bianchi was just 25 years old. Lewis Hamilton continues to smash long-standing Formula One records. At Silverstone, it was the most consecutive races in which a driver had led the race. The world champion has now done so at 19 in a row. 45 years ago, Jackie Stewart managed 18. The hardest braking point on the Hungaroring lies ahead of Turn 1. The Formula One drivers decelerate by 246 kilometers per hour in 1.57 seconds over just 145 meters. 2,428 kilowatts of brake power are released in the process. The driver is subjected to 5.5 G while having to push with 158 kilograms onto the brake. That was Inside Grand Prix for today. The next Formula One race takes place after the summer break in Spa. But for now, enjoy the Hungarian Grand Prix.